Johnny, they were feeling low. Life's a grind, man, it was moving slow. Tired of the struggles, tired of the fight, they turned to the meat and it felt so right. With steaks on their plates and the grill fired up, they found a new rhythm and filled their cup. Joy started flowing, laughter's out of sight. Now they're living loud, embracing the night. Yeah, they went full carnivore and the joy has begun. Sickness and gloom like shadows, they run with every bite, taking the feeling so great, sharing their message, they just can't wait. So tune in, my friend, each Wednesday night. Join Real Talk with Brian and Johnny. What a sight. Oh, what a sight.
Okay, we are live. Hello, everybody.
Hey,
Johnny,
everybody.
how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Brian. Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year to you as well, and everybody else watching. That
Lots of folks.
new intro, it's great, isn't it?
It's awesome. You did a fantastic job. Thank you so much for doing that. That's awesome.
Well, you did the song, so
Yeah, my song.
thank you for the song. That's a great job. And then I edited up the pictures and video and so forth, but I think it looks great.
Yeah.
I think it's a million times better than what we had before, which was pretty good
Sure.
before. So
Yeah, I agree.
all right. Let's say hi to a few people in chat here. And then we'll kind of get into some discussion, but it's the beginning of 2026. So I think we'll talk about that and so forth. But there's a few different things. There's some news that hit today and so forth. But let's say hi to people. Linda's out here. Hello.
Hey, Linda.
Rick.
What's up, Rick?
Tracking along.
Happy New Year, Brian.
Paul's out there. Hello, Paul.
All.
Peter, Papa Carnivore.
Hey, Peter.
We got Greg, My Weight Loss Life.
Greg.
Hello.
Greg put out some videos recently.
Yes, he did. I think I saw he just put out another one today. I didn't see that one yet, but I saw the one from yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes. Bacon Runner.
Bacon Runner.
Hello. Cynthia is here.
Hey,
Hello.
yeah.
Thomas, Target Prime Rib.
Thomas.
All right. I think that's everybody in the chat so far. If you want to drop in and say hello, go ahead. If you have any questions, just put a capital Q in front of it so we can see it. And all right, it is 2026 and it's January. Johnny, what is January? What makes January so special?
It is World Carnivore Month, Brian. The whole month of January, 31 days, the world celebrating the proper human diet, the carnivore diet.
All right. And we didn't even plan that. I just threw it out there and he was right on. So yes, it's World Carnivore Month. I've been trying to post like on Facebook, like a post every day of showing like what I'm eating or whatever for World Carnivore Month. So trying to get the word out there. That's World Carnivore Month and everything.
Absolutely.
All right. So with that, it's a great time for that to be the World Carnivore Month, January, because we just got out of the holidays and this is the month that everybody starts thinking about their health, right? And they start thinking, I got to eat healthy, I got to exercise and that kind of stuff. So it's a great month to get the word out about carnivore. And I guess we'll talk a little bit about that today. And maybe I can get your insights at some point here about, why is it that so many people jump in January, but then they don't make it out of January usually with that plan. So maybe we can talk about that a little bit. I don't see really anything new in the chat. So let's just go right into that. What are your thoughts, Johnny, about why people consider January the time to kind of jump in and look at their health, but then why do they struggle and not usually make it out of January still on that same plan?
Well, obviously people, it's a brand new year. We're flipping the calendar, going to another brand new year, a brand new month. You're kind of saying goodbye to the old, hopefully your old self, and the New Year's resolution that everybody talks about. it's almost cliche. And then people, I think most people, Brian, for the most part, have good intentions. They really, really want to address their health. They really want to put in the effort, make the changes, because maybe they see somebody else living the life that they want to live, and they're just unable to get there. The problem is everybody wants what you want, or everybody wants what you have, until they realize the price is discipline. And I'm guilty of that myself for many, many years. I've started New Year's resolutions for probably going on 50 years now, and haven't done real well with a whole lot of them. But I think for me, this year is going to be different. I mean, I'll be 60. It's my last year in the 50s. I'll be 60 in March of next year. So I'm hoping that they'll give me the fire to go all the way through the whole year and be the person that I know I can be. I'm already 75, 80 pounds lighter than I was, 10 years ago. And I'm in certainly much better health. But even this carnivore champion can fall short. So it'd be hypocritical of me to criticize others for falling off the wagon when that tends to be a hobby of mine. Your thought?
Yeah. I agree with a lot of that. I want to first ask everybody that's watching in the chat, let us know if you do any New Year's resolution type of things. And if you do, what your resolution is or resolutions are for this year. Be kind of fun to see what everybody's are. Personally, I don't really have resolutions. I might have like certain goals and that kind of stuff. Like I want to get healthy, be healthier, and improve my health, that kind of thing. But let's go into this topic that we were talking about here. I completely agree about, it's the new year. People start thinking, especially after the holidays, like I want to get, I can't think of the right word I want to say, but I want to get serious, I guess, about my health and so forth. And they start looking at things. And then you're right. It takes a lot of discipline. It's very hard. I've been doing carnivore now for over 3.5 years. And I've had plenty of times that I've slipped up, this was the first holiday season that I actually didn't seem to get cravings and temptations at the holidays to eat bad stuff. And I stayed really strict. But this was also my 4th holiday season. So the first 3, I had issues, right? So sometimes it takes a while, even when you want to do those things. Cravings can really be tough, especially if you really are a carb addict and then you're around those sweet, sugary foods. So I think that has a lot to do with it. Why people tend to fall off. And I think, the whole thing that you said, that it's just hard. You have to put work in, and a lot of times people just don't want to put that work in. I think that adds to it. So yeah, I kind of really agree with a lot of that. I will say that I think another thing that happens is the people that tend to be the most successful and stick with it, well, it's a very small number, are the people that probably feel like they have really hit rock bottom and they can't imagine going back once they start feeling so much better. Again, it's a small number because there's still people that feel that way, and then they still end up struggling. They know they feel better and so forth. Like you've talked about this before, you feel better, but then you just have one little cheat or something, and then it just sparks up all the cravings and so forth. Let's see, I'll put this in here. Greg mentioned it takes 8 to 12 weeks for new habits to form. Most people give up before really getting to the lifestyle and being really successful, real successful. Yeah. That's a big thing too.
Yeah, yep. Greg's right about that. People will, January 2nd, they're in the gym, January 3rd. And by the end of January, they're tired. They're still having to work. The kids are back in school. They got to clean the house, all the stuff that is life. Now you're adding on this additional. And I think people like go to the gym, for example, they'll spend an hour and a half, 2 hours at the gym, which is totally not necessary. And they feel like it's more than they can do. So to Greg's point, they give up before it becomes a part of their daily ritual. And then eating, for me, it's just so much easier. And this is true for everybody. And this is one of my excuses, if you will. And I'm sorry for all the air quotes tonight, but it's just so easy. We have fast food drive-through restaurants on every corner in America. People weren't this fat and this unhealthy 100 years ago, 50 years ago. Even when I was a kid, there really wasn't that many fast food places. That's just probably a last 25, 30-year phenomenon. And to cook, to get something out of the freezer, thaw it out, prepare it, cook it, clean up, do dishes, all that stuff. It's just so much easier in today's busy world for most people to just go grab something. And when you pull through the drive-through, some of us are really good about getting burger patties, or maybe going to a restaurant and just ordering a steak with no sides, or getting like you do, Greg, the eggs and cheese for the sides. It just, it's like these temptations are out there. But the thing about it is, it's just a little bit of a switch of mindset that can help you be successful long term versus just 2 or 3 weeks after the first of the year.
Yeah. I think while we were talking here, I thought of another thing that's probably a big thing. And that is when people go into January, they set these New Year's resolutions, but they kind of like set a goal to lose weight. And I think if that is your main goal to do something, that is one of the biggest mistakes. Like, that tends to not work for people. And if it does work, it ends up not working in the end, because then they stop it. And then when you go back to what you were doing before, what's going to happen? You're going to gain the weight back. Right. So I really think that people need to look at it differently. But in January, as you hit January, what is it that people say? That's one of the biggest things is, I need to lose 15 pounds or 10 pounds that I gained during the holidays or something like that. So they're looking at it just like that. They're not looking at it as in that this is now a new way of life, a new way of eating. And they're not looking at it as in, what is my real why for doing this? Not just to lose weight, but why is it? Maybe I want to get healthy, but why do I want to get healthy? That kind of thing, right? And I think that those are the things that people need to do when they go to do this. And maybe they're not getting the coaching for this or whatever, and they're just going into it their own, but they're not really taking that stance. They're just saying, okay, I gained 10 pounds during the holidays. I need to lose 15 pounds, let's say. And that's what they do. And they say, okay, what can I do now to lose weight? And you're right. There's the whole gym thing. People are like, okay, I'm going to go spend an hour in the gym. Well, you do that a couple times and you get tired of doing that. And I think we need to talk about that a little bit, because I think that there are some things that you can do that take a very short amount of time compared to the gym, and are going to do wonders actually for burning fat, getting rid of fat, and so forth. Okay, let me see. I got some things I queued up here. Paul says, I vow no organs, no sardines, and no smoking. I have kept to this for over 69 years. Wow, great job. 69 years. Linda says, oh, I'm sorry, what?
You'll get to it in a second. Rick keeps it pretty simple. He just says avoid duck food.
Okay. I struggled 10 years on keto with sweets, but a few months on carnivore, I haven't. And Peter also said, Linda, I started as keto 3 years ago, but the food noise was hard. But then carnivore cured that. And I agree, for some people, especially if you seem to be addicted to carbs like me, that is trouble, because you're still, when you look at keto, you're still eating different foods. There's still a little bit of carbs, but for some reason in the keto community, it's a little bit different than the carnivore community, in that they're looking for a lot of different variation, and they try a lot of like keto desserts and stuff like that. And if you have those carnivore or those carb cravings, it's going to make it really difficult to stick with that. Um, not to really necessarily pull out names, but what's his name? Kerry from Homestead How had the same problem. He tried doing keto for years and struggled with it. And then when he completely said, I'm done with carbohydrates, that's when things really worked for him. So it's one of those things. It depends on how you are, right, Johnny? Like
That's right.
some people can do that and they can eat that little bit of carbohydrate and eat the variation and they're fine. And then other people, they just need to be really strict with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
For me, Brian, I can, and there's probably a lot of people like me. As long as I'm not around, I can avoid the temptations if I'm not around it. And I put out a video earlier today. You guys get a chance, if you haven't watched it, watch it. I kind of talk about, I'm going to break it down real quick. I'll be quick about this. Here is my biggest vice. My cell phone, social media. We didn't have this years ago. I spend way too much time, especially for a 59-year-old guy, on social media, mostly Facebook, a lot of YouTube. And then I don't have time to fix my food. I don't have time to meal prep. I don't have time to grocery shop. Oh my gosh, I don't have time to clean up if I do cook. So because I spent so much time doing wasted time on social media, now I'm pressed. So now I run into the convenience store to grab a coffee and maybe a sausage, egg, and cheese burrito or something. Well, the donut case is right there. Gosh, no one's going to know. I'll just have one, and I lie to myself all the time. And so what I've decided to do is back off on this a lot. And for about a week now, I've kind of spent probably less than half the time I would normally spend on social media. And guess what? I've cooked my breakfast every day. I've cooked my lunch every day. I've cleaned the kitchen. My wife doesn't have to worry about any of that. And I've even cooked some bacon for my wife every morning. And that one little thing of just cutting off some of the social media that ends up being repetitive and not necessary has opened up an opportunity for me to cook my own food so I don't go where the temptations are. I make a left before I ever get to the QT convenience store, which is my nemesis. And I so avoid it completely because I fixed bacon and eggs at home because I just had the time. I also go to bed about 30 to 40 minutes earlier on average every night now, and I have for about a week. And by going to bed earlier, I tend to get up earlier. If I get up earlier, I can fix breakfast and have time to clean the kitchen up before I leave to go to work. So it's just little things like that. Sometimes it's something so simple can make a big difference. And I'm on a roll. I'm 7 days into doing absolutely perfect. And I'm feeling, I mean, in just 7 days, I was watching Greg's video today. Greg's only in, I think, day 3 or 4 of his new journey. And he's talking about how much better he feels. And I saw the video, Greg, of you in your car today. And I'm only 7 days in to really, really tightening the reins here. And I feel amazing. I mean, I did some sprints today. I did some push-ups today. My wife and I went to the mountains yesterday. I hiked in the mountains yesterday. And it happens pretty quick that people just have to give carnivore a chance. When I tried keto, as you're talking about, Brian, I ate the keto pancakes, the keto muffins, the keto cookies. You know, what is it? The big cookie that all the little convenience stores sell them. They're plant-based protein cookies. Lenny and Larry, I think Lenny and Larry cookies. I'd eat 3 or 4 of those a day. And they're loaded with crap, you know, but I was keto. So that was the pitfall that keto caused me, where carnivore steers me away from that.
Yeah. Get some more comments I'm gonna bring up here. Bill, this is beast mode here. 2 miles with a 55-pound backpack. It's about 3 weeks since I did the last time. That's great. Kind of like you, though. Like you were talking, you hadn't sprinted in so long, you just went right back into it. You know, when you haven't been away from it for that long, really, a few weeks, that you can get back to it pretty quickly. And that's what a lot of us see too. Like if we slip up for a little bit, within a few days of going back onto things, we start to feel so much better. It's amazing how that happens.
Yeah. I'm sure Bill felt like crap when he, I'm sure Bill felt like crap when he got through with that, but how good will he feel knowing that he got that he did it, even though it probably sucked. Like for me, those push-ups today and those sprints were as taxing as I can remember it ever being. But I feel so alive when I get done. And that's a feeling that I wish for other people. Like Brian, you eat so clean, you do such a great job, and I know you're satiated. You don't have those hunger pains. You've done some fasting recently. And it just levels up your life. And it's so simple, but yet so many people, myself included, have a tough time remembering that on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. You know, also push-ups. You were talking about push-ups. I think you said push-ups, right? You said sprinting. I think you said push-ups too, right?
Yeah.
Or I didn't. Okay. I was like, I didn't just hear that. Right? Yeah. Anyway, okay. So I started doing push-ups again here in like mid to late December. Not necessarily doing them every day, but the first couple days I did them, I was just like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, I haven't done these in so long. It was horrible feeling that the first day, that evening, because I did like 3 different sets of them that evening, my arms were like so sore. My legs were so sore. But it was like after the first day, like the second day, it got better. The third day, it got even better. And I haven't necessarily done it every single day, but like I did a bunch today. I did 55 before I ate. And then this evening here, like an hour before our live stream, I did like 25 more. So I'm at 80. I need to do like another 20 so I can get to 100 for the day. But so, you know, I've been doing the push-ups again. And yeah, it's kind of like the same thing. Like at the first day or so, man, you're like, whoa, it's been a while since I've done these. I'm a little sore. They can't do as many as I used to. But then you get going again. And it just gives you that better energy, more energy and so forth. Let's see. Thomas says he's going to be doing strict lion for January to celebrate World Carnivore Month and his carniversary. That's right. He's 1 year, I believe, was January 1st, right? Yes.
I think you're right.
I've been kind of, with the holidays, I've been kind of away and I haven't been paying attention to stuff. I know, Thomas, you were supposed to have a live stream. I think it was on New Year's Day with Jen, man. I didn't get a chance to see it. I'm going to have to go back and watch the replay because I didn't get a chance to see it. But I hope that went great. And congratulations on your carniversary. Peter, I had a huge porterhouse steak for dinner tonight with some cold butter chunks and salt. I'm super stuffed now. It was huge. That sounds awesome. And that was all I had queued up. And now there's like 19 new messages I got to go through. Let's see. Rick cooks while watching YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah. My computer setup where I watch YouTube most of the time is in the basement, or I watch it on my phone. So I don't really have that good option, but sometimes I'll watch it on my TV, actually, in my man cave area. But yeah, that's a good idea. Oh, for Christmas, I got an apron. So now I can cook stuff on my cast iron and not splatter all over my shirt anymore. I can just splatter on my apron. So that was a nice gift I got for Christmas. Did you get anything nice like that? I'm over here saying it's nice.
My wife bought me a cup. I drink a lot of water, and I usually keep it in this Soda Stream cup there. But my wife bought me one of those. It's a Yeti insulated cup, and I put ice in there, and I put water. Sometimes sparkling water, but sometimes just water with some unflavored electrolytes. And that, I don't know what she paid for, but that thing is amazing. I can put ice in it and put water in it, and like for 3 days, I still have ice. And it's got one of those hard plastic straws that you take and clean up. And then she bought me another package of replacement, the hard plastic straws that aren't the disposable ones that kind of go with it. So that was pretty cool. I really like that. Reminds me to keep hydrated, keep drinking water, and keep doing those electrolytes.
Yes. I see here Bacon Runner did 90 minutes, ran for 90 minutes on the treadmill. That's impressive. There's no way I could run for 90 minutes. I can tell you that right now. Bill took a break from working out during the holidays. I'm sure a lot of people did that.
I mean, too.
I was a little bit more laxed about things, like not necessarily about working out type thing, because I don't work out that much to begin with. But in terms of my eating, like before that, I was eating like once a day pretty much. And then I would do like the 48, 72-hour fast. I didn't do any fasting over Christmas and New Year's, like that 2-week or so period. And I kind of started eating 2 meals a day, sometimes even 3. I only had 1 meal each of the last 2 days. So I'm slowly getting back. I need to do a fast again. I haven't done one yet, but I kind of got a little bit laxed, even though I still ate clean this year, which is new for me. I ate clean. It's just I didn't necessarily eat quite the way I was going into that.
Well, Brian, one thing that happened to me over the holiday, I do this every year. I get sick at Christmas. Like for the 20 consecutive years now, I get sick every Christmas. I had the cold, flu, whatever, and I tend to eat. I love just something warm, so I had soup, chicken, rice soup, chicken noodle soup, a lot of that while I was trying to mend and drinking hot coffee and just hot liquids because so much congestion in my chest, whatever, and that kind of threw me off plan. And then after I got pretty much over that, I missed a couple of days of work, which for me to miss work is, I only miss it around Christmas when I'm sick. And then my wife got sick. She had the stomach bug that was going around for a couple of days on New Year's Day, and the day after that, she was pretty sick. So we didn't do our New Year's dinner, which I'd planned on just having what my wife wanted to have for New Year's, which is ham, green bean casserole, and sweet potato stuff. We ended up having it on the 3rd because she was too sick to cook any of that stuff. So
yeah.
Anyway, that was kind of the trajectory of me falling off plan. As you know, I was sick. When I'm sick, I don't know, I'm just miserable. But thank God I only get sick about once a year, but it always tends to fall right at Christmas. Kind of like Thomas. Thomas got sick at Christmas.
Yeah, Thomas got sick too. I didn't get sick, but I had all my family in. You know, all my daughters came in and everything. Of course, my son's already here with us. So we had everybody here for Christmas. And like the day after my one daughter got home, her and her boyfriend were down with the flu. And we were all like, great. Luckily, we didn't get it. So I don't know what happened. It's good because I'll tell you, in the past, before Carnivore, it seems like I was always getting sick at holidays. Anytime I went out of town, I'd get sick. I was always getting sick. I don't get sick as often anymore. I still get sick sometimes, kind of like Rick. You know, when I've interviewed Rick before, he'll say like, I get sick a few times a year, but it's not really bad. It's like a cold, that type of thing. That's kind of what happens to me now when I get sick most of the time, except for that time last summer when I overdid things and I was working out too hard and so forth. And I just drained my body. Outside of that, most of the time, it's not too bad. So that's good.
Amy,
Peter.
to see Amy.
Yep.
Amy.
That's the next one I got in queue after this one.
Sorry. Sorry.
I'll just put it up right here. Here you go. Hello, Amy. Good to see you.
Yeah. Sorry, Brian.
No, you're good. Peter is going to be 3 years carnivore on February 1st. So congratulations, Peter. 3 weeks away, basically? 3 weeks. So congratulations to that. And let me see. I think I've kind of caught us up again. Oh, my sister said half of her employees were sick out of like over 200 employees. Wow. It's definitely been going around.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, in the past, before Carnivore, when things are going around, I was getting sick all the time. It was crazy. Yeah. I bet a lot of people were carb sick on Christmas. That's part of the thing too, I think, that happens this time of year is so many people are eating sugary processed foods that it's affecting their immune system. And so their immune system isn't as good as it should be. And that's part of why they're getting sick, I think. So
Brian, on the 26th of December, I think it was either the 26th or 27th, we had one of those really unusually warm days. It was very, very sunny. And I didn't feel great, but I went outside with just my shorts on. It was like 70 degrees and barefoot. And I did some grounding. And I stood outside for an hour and a half in the direct sun, trying to get vitamin D and do the grounding. And the next day I was fine. And that's probably the shortest flu I've ever had. If it was truly the flu, it felt like the flu. But it only lasted like 5 days. Usually I'm down for a couple weeks, but I did about an hour and a half of grounding in the direct sun with no shirt on to try to get all the vitamin D I could get. And I went to work the next day. It was, I don't know if that's coincidence or I know in this time of year, we're also vitamin D deficient because the sun goes down earlier. The sun's not as high in the sky. We're all vitamin D deficient anyway, as a species or as a people. And so it felt good to get out there and get that vitamin D and do some grounding. And it may have helped.
Yeah. Definitely vitamin D is a big thing, I think, with your immune system, and the sun is huge for that. Um, you hear these stories about back 50, 100 years ago, probably more like 100 years ago, where hospitals had these outdoor balconies and different things like that, and they would put patients outside to get the sunlight and so forth. Um, so yeah, I think that that is a key thing. And you're right. We don't get as much sun. I was just saying this to my wife the other day that like I don't get outside anymore right now. So this is what I do this time of year. I start supplementing some vitamin D. I I'm not big on supplements, but when I'm not getting out, I got to do something. So especially I work all day, I don't get a chance to get outside much when it's daylight. So that's what I've been doing is trying to supplement vitamin D here, and probably by about March, it's going to warm up here again. The days are going to be getting longer already. They're starting to get longer. So I'll probably be done with that by early March, and I'll be back to getting more sun in and so forth. But that's kind of what I do at this like December, January, February timeframe, just to make sure
Good
I'm
idea.
staying
Good idea.
there. Yeah. Okay. Oh yes, Bill says flu is rough this year. That's I've kind of heard too. My oldest daughter is a teacher, and she said when she got back from the holidays, like all the teachers that teach at the grade level that she does at her school were saying how they all got the flu over Christmas. Luckily she didn't, but it's crazy. It's going on for sure. Okay. I want to change topics a little bit. I think we're mostly caught up on comments. Okay. So there's some news that came out today. Some very interesting, I think is encouraging news. And that is in the US. So if you're not from the United States, you might not have heard this, but in the US, we have new dietary guidelines with the new food pyramid. And RFK Jr. had a press conference and talked about this. And he said, eat real food and cut out added sugars and processed foods. And he even now we know RFK Jr. tends to do an animal-based diet, more of a carnivore with fermented foods, kind of like how I do actually. And I think you do it too, Johnny.
Yep.
But he even said that processed cheap food isn't as cheap as you think it is, because you're paying for it in the back end with diabetes, other health issues and so forth, obesity or whatever. So I thought that was great, kind of, because the first thing people are going to be like when they see this food pyramid and they see steak and chicken and eggs and cheese and milk and stuff like that on the top, like those things were at the top. Yeah, there were some vegetables and stuff too, but he had all those things at the top. He's like, don't worry about the saturated fat, that kind of stuff. People are going to be like saying, hey, look, that's great and all, I can't afford to eat that steak. So he cut kind of into it right in that press conference. He's like, you're paying for it in the long run when you eat the cheap food. Eat real food. I think that's even how he said it, was eat real food. What are your thoughts about that whole thing, Johnny?
Well, I think it's exactly right. And I think we're long overdue. And so many of the influencers you see in the dietary space, not only carnivore, keto, even some of the more plant-based things, they talk about how the food pyramid was so unbelievably flawed, and it was flawed on purpose. And there was money exchanged hands to make it that way. But so it's good to see that hopefully, like in the school system, they'll start maybe looking at the food pyramid differently for the kids in school lunches. As adults, people are going to eat what they want to eat. But now that the guidelines are out there, if people will pay any attention to them, and the government tends to not be the most reliable place to get nutrition information. But now, hopefully, people will look at that and they'll start to consider, why would somebody say this? What's the data? You can use Chat GPT and Grok and all these things, and it seems like a lot of the times when you and I use AI to do this stuff, it tends to start shifting towards more factual based stuff. Like a study came out with a couple days ago, I think it was over in Europe somewhere, a study came out, 800,000 people, and it was an international study, and they found the people with the highest level of cholesterol lived the longest. And I saw a doctor that did a symposium, a speech or whatever, And he said all of his centurion, all of his patients that he treated or has treated that lived to be over 100, all had very high LDL cholesterol, but they all had low triglycerides. So maybe with this new food pyramid and people do more research and they see this, and even if it's controversial, there's a saying that says there's no such thing as bad publicity, right? So if people are against RFK or against this, they want to believe that eating 66 slices of bread every day is the best thing for diabetes. If they look at this and they do a little research and trying to prove it wrong, maybe they'll realize that this is the way we're supposed to eat, because this is how we would have eaten 10,000, 20,000 years ago. And if it didn't work, we would have died out. We would have gone extinct as a species, but we became the apex predator of the world. We're the apex predator. We have big brains. We can figure things out because we eat fatty red meat, fat, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely encouraged by the new guidelines. I've been saying that for I don't know how long, like eat whole foods, stop eating the processed foods. It's great to hear him say that. Now, the interesting thing is I've seen people already responding, doctors out there, I'm putting it in air quotes, but they are doctors that are saying things that are just ridiculous. Like, talking about this real food, eating real food, you're going to kill millions of people because they're going to be eating saturated fat. Or some cases people were saying things like, the diet makes no difference. There's nothing wrong with eating these processed foods. And I'm over here like, I said this to my wife even earlier, like, there is no way that you're a doctor, you go through 12 years of schooling. There is no way that you are not smart enough to know that highly processed foods are bad for you. Like, you don't know that? There's no way. Somebody has to be paying you to think that way, because there's no way you could be that dumb that you think sugar and highly processed foods are not a problem. I just don't get that.
Well, Brian, let me give you a hypothesis here, and I want everybody, y'all listen to this. Give me 2 minutes to flesh this out, okay? Think about this. Let's say you're a mechanic. You spent years going to school to learn to be an auto mechanic, right? The fuel pumps, the radiators, the water pump, all that stuff. The electronics of an engine, the computer brain of an engine. You can diagnose and fix any car problem. And that's how you make a living. That's how you feed your family, pay your mortgage, and how you're going to have your retirement. What if somebody came along and invented a device you could just plug into your car, into the onboard diagnostics, the OBD? You could just plug it in, and no matter what was wrong with your car, it would fix it automatically. And they were selling these things online on, Temu or whatever for $10. And all you have to do is plug it into your car, and it fixes everything. Well, as a mechanic, you wouldn't like that at all, because nobody will come to you to fix their car because they don't need you anymore. So the mechanic would try to say, this thing is terrible. It's going to mess your car up. It's going to cause your car to catch on fire. Your brakes are not going to work. The fuel system's going to flood. It's going to be terrible, because they have a monetary interest in you not doing that. Well, that thing that you plug in that fixes all the systems in your car, that's what the carnivore diet does to the human body, with the exception of trauma. Can be healed in a much shorter period of time on a proper human diet, right? But just imagine if you were a doctor, you've been to school for 12 years, you got these huge student loans, your whole identity, everything about you was about taking care of people, and all of a sudden there's evidence out there, broad-based international evidence, multiple peer-reviewed studies that say you're doing everything wrong. And all people have to do is eat a proper human diet, reduce their stress, get better sleep, do this, that, and the other, and they won't need you anymore. And as this thing, if it ever grows real legs and takes off and gets at scale, we're going to need a whole lot less doctors. We're going to need no dietary, dietitians. We're not going to need any of that stuff. And those people are going to be scrambling. So I don't blame them for going online and trying to poo-poo this thing, because their whole livelihood depends on you being sick. my job is to take care of sick people, to take sick people from the hospital to the nursing home or the hospital to hospice or whatever. So if everybody gets well, everybody goes to a proper human diet, reduces stress, gets better sleep, exercises, maybe I'll be out of a job. But I'm going to tell the truth because I need to look at myself in the mirror. Plus, I'm getting ready to retire anyway.
There you go. Hello, Lewis. Good to see you here.
Hey, Lewis.
Arlene is here as well.
Hey, Arlene.
I think I might be caught up again. Yeah, you can now remote start your car. Yep.
I can't start mine remotely. It's an EV. There is no start. It's just go. Which, by the way, Rick, my car has very, very few moving parts. Very, very few.
All right, we are caught up on comments. Okay, so, yeah, that something you said about this movement, and we've talked about this before. Like, is the carnivore movement gaining popularity and so forth? And then, we went through 6 months there, second half of 2025 of people starting the sugar diet and people claiming that all these people were leaving carnivore when it was really like a handful of people, right, that were on social media, really, and that was it. But we went through all that, and now we're back to this. And I think this is really encouraging because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to look at these guidelines, and especially not just now, but as we go on. These are the guidelines for 2025 through, or 2026, I think it is, through 2030, right? So we get to 2027, 2028, people are going to be even more set at looking at those guidelines and being like, yeah, I need to eat more chicken, eggs, ground beef, whatever it is. The interesting thing is going to be, what is this going to do for sales of those types of foods? Is it going to maybe cause shortages and prices to go up? Is it going to maybe allow the demand to catch up, and we're going to have more demand, so we're going to have more more back to farming, I guess, where we've lost so many different farms and so forth, and cattle farms and stuff, ranches and stuff like that? Are we going to get more of that back here and help with the demand? What do you think is going to kind of happen there?
Well, I can tell you one thing. I follow the cattle industry, and there's lamb, there's other stuff too, but the cattle industry specifically. My father's a cattle farmer. My dad is a beef farmer. That's what he does for a living. And 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, I'm sure Rick could probably correct me on this, but there was this huge drought across the Midwest. I mean, a huge drought, and a lot of farmers took their cattle to market earlier than they normally would have. And they didn't rebreed because they had no hay to feed because there was this huge drought. So now the drought is over, but now when a calf is born, it takes a couple of years before the calf is actually ready to go for processing. And we're going to be coming out probably the next 18 months, coming out of that problem from the drought from 4 years ago, because the cows are maturing enough now. They can breed some of the cows. They can take cows to market. I think you're going to see, I don't know if prices are going to come back down to where they were, but I don't think they're going to go up anymore. You may start seeing more sales. We just did the prime rib at Publix. Obviously, they have their sale. And some of these other grocery stores do the big sale around Christmas time. I think you're going to see a leveling off of beef prices. Chicken prices have come down a good bit. Sam's, where I buy my eggs, I eat nothing but pasture-raised eggs. I get them from Sam's. They're $5.36 for an 18-pack of pasture-raised eggs. Now, when I went to Publix the other day, the pasture-raised eggs there were $8 a dozen, but I wouldn't buy them from there. But I think you're going to see eggs come back down. Chicken is already moderated. Pork is still an option for a lot of people. You can get a Boston butt, put it in the crock pot. That's a great meal. That's how I started on carnivore. I lost all my inflammation in about 30 pounds eating nothing but pork the first couple months I was on carnivore because I had a ton of it to eat. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that does affect the supply and demand balance for, meat and cheese and cottage cheese and kefir and things like that. I think supply is going to get better, but demand may get better as well. So you probably see a balancing. I don't think meat's going to get any higher. It can't get much higher, because if people quit buying the meat, the price will come down, because they're not going to let it go bad and throw it away. And you have, one ribeye at the grocery store is $25 or $22. The average blue collar person out there, which a lot of us are, I can't. That's why I eat ground beef. I eat ground beef every day. I get the grass finished ground beef. It's usually $5.99 to $6.99 a pound, which I can afford. I eat a pound of it a day, pretty much every day. And I'll have a steak every now and then if I can catch them on sale here and there. But I just eat a lot of ground beef. That way I can stay within budget, still stay carnivore. But
Yeah,
I do think
the grocery store. I think getting a steak at the grocery store, unless it's on sale, is really, really tough. Like when I go to a grocery store and look their prices, I can't bring myself to buy it. I go to Costco and I get the big slabs, and like I get the New York slab for $9.99 a pound, and I cut my own steak. And I'll go to the grocery store and they're selling it for like $15.99 a pound, and it's like there's no way. It just doesn't make sense. Some of these grocery store prices are insane. What you really need to do is get to like a club, like a Sam's or Costco, and if you can, it's not that difficult to cut your own steaks. Buy the slabs and then cut the steak. And like you said, ground beef is a great option too. And if you go to like Costco, they tend to do the bigger packages. Like you get like 5 or 6 pounds of ground beef or whatever it is now. I can't remember. I think it's around 5 something or something like that. So it's a pretty good price. And that's going to be at least a few meals for you, right? So 5-6 pounds, that should be plenty.
Yep.
There's a comment in here from Marlene, and I think this is going to be a good thing to talk about. So I'll read through what she says here. I have a friend who's about my age. I'm 68, and she's doing one of those GLP things, and I'm really concerned. She looks so thin and older. It's just a shame that things like that are promoted. I think this is a good topic that we can talk about here. Now, I'm going to ask you your thoughts, but before I go into that, I do want to say one thing that I do know with this situation. When somebody goes to a doctor, if that doctor is good at what they do and they give them a GLP, one of the first things they tell you is, number one, if you don't change your diet and you stop taking this, you're going to gain all the weight back. And number two, which is probably the biggest thing, you tend to lose muscle mass. So you have to work out. You have to lift weights. They tell you have to lift weights. You have to prioritize protein in what you're eating, because with the GLP-1s, you're not going to be that hungry. You're not going to eat a lot of food. So make sure you're getting the protein, and you need to lift weights. Because otherwise, that is one thing that does happen. So I think too many people just say, hey, I'm going to take this, and they don't listen to what the doctor's saying, or the doctor didn't give them that advice, whatever it is. And those kinds of things happen. And that is a pretty concerning thing. So Johnny, let's hear your thoughts on this.
All right. Well, GLP-1 is actually a naturally occurring substance in the body. We make our own GLP-1. The problem is when you eat high carbs or carbohydrates or ultra processed food, seed oils, it blocks the receptors for the GLP-1. So GLP-1 tells your body you're full. Brian, if you eat a real fatty, big New York strip, when you get through, you're full. You can't go eat another one. You're done. But if you eat, like me, I could eat a box of donuts, a dozen Krispy Kremes, and in 30 minutes, I can eat another one, because the GLP-1, I didn't ever get that satiety, that satiated feeling. So when people take GLP-1s, eat crap, and a lot of them do. The reason they need a GLP-1 is because they've eaten the wrong things. They're not overnourished. They're literally undernourished, because when you eat the wrong things, you don't give your body the nourishment, the nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, the trace minerals, everything our body needs. So when somebody takes a GLP-1, if they don't, to your point, Brian, and I'd like to believe that most doctors are telling their patients that, but I don't think they are. There's people getting GLP-1s off the internet. You can order them from Canada. You can get them, anyway.
Mm.
And now they're making it in pill form. And I would like to believe that doctors are telling their patients that, but my doctor once told me years ago, Brian, about 15 years ago, my doctor said, John, you need to lose weight and exercise. That was what was wrong. I just needed to lose weight and exercise. There was no, how do I lose the weight? How do I exercise? What's the right plan for me? It was just that. Then they sent me to because I was 350 pounds and I was having a heck of a time physically. And they sent me to a dietitian. And she said, oatmeal, orange juice. She said everything wrong. But that's what she was trained to say. So I hope that a lot of doctors are giving their patients that advice, but you're seeing a lot of muscle wasting. Now, where are some of the muscles at? Your eyes are a muscle. You have muscles within your eye. Well, those muscles shrink or atrophy. You go blind. And there's a lot of concern right now with GLP-1, people taking GLP-1s and their eyesight. You're going to see, I think, a big class action lawsuit about that. Your heart is also a muscle. When you have muscle wasting, you have muscle atrophy or shrinkage of muscle, your heart's a muscle too. And I think this is just setting people up for not a good thing. And to your point, Brian, GLP-1s, a lot of people say when you start taking them, you have to take them forever. Well, if you take something forever and you don't do all this stuff, let's say you do it workout. You say you do prioritize protein and you work out, but now you're 68, 69, 70 years old and you start slowing down some, but you still take those GLP-1s. The muscle loss that happens with age is going to be, in my opinion, accelerated, right? Because you're going to start losing a muscle and muscle tone and health just because you're getting closer to your, last day on earth. And you'll speed that process up by taking these GLP-1 drugs without doing the exercise and prioritizing protein and all the things that we talk about. I think we're approaching the day when you're going to see the commercials on TV or on the internet. If you or a loved one has ever had heart damage or brain damage and died from GLP-1, you may be entitled to a significant, you're going to start seeing that. I mean, it's just a matter of time. The problem is we see that now with like Roundup. If you or a loved one was damaged from Roundup, you may be entitled to the settlement, but you can still go to the store and buy Roundup. So I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know that's a great deal when you can. If you eat pasture-raised eggs and fatty red meat, you get all the GLP-1 you're ever going to need. And Dr. Annette Boswell, she talks about that. GLP-1 is not, you're taking something that your body already makes, but you're taking it exogenously. And then if you take it for a long time where your body know how to make it because your body's just relied on you taking it, you quit taking it, your body hadn't made it in years. I mean, I don't know. It's just a recipe for disaster. I pray that that Arlene's friend will do the right thing and wean herself off it or whatever the right protocol is going forward.
Yeah. Now, Bill says he thinks that doctors are leaving that to the pharmacists, and that may be. I do know somebody that more recently got the prescription for GLP-1 from their doctor, and their doctor did, in fact, tell them those things that I said.
Good.
You need to lift weights, and if you stop taking this and you're doing the same thing, you're going to gain the weight back. You need to change your diet as well. And then, of course, they said the whole you need to prioritize protein. Don't eat junk food because you're not going to be that hungry. And when you're not that hungry, if you're not getting protein, that's going to be even more muscle loss. So, but again, that may just be good doctors that are saying that. And most doctors out there might not be saying anything. And like Bill says, leaving it to the pharmacist. Couple of comments in here about prices I wanted to bring up. Rick says 29 cents a pound right now at Sedona's. Did I say it right? Sedona's. Sedanos for chicken. That's pretty good. And Bill says you can get free beef fat at BJ's. BJ's is another one of those wholesale club places like Sam's, Costco, so forth. So that's pretty cool. Amy says never thought about the eyesight thing. Yeah, I have heard of people that have talked about how they are losing their eyesight after taking the GLP-1s. I think it's kind of rare. You're not hearing a lot of people talk about it to the amount of people that are actually taking it, but I have heard that. Yeah. After they make trillions and trillions, they'll pay out billions.
That's what Roundup did. Roundup knew it was causing cancer. They knew the problems. Not I say Roundup, the company that makes Roundup, which I think is Johnson and Johnson. Anyway, they knew that, but they did the math. They did actuarial math that said we'll make so much money that even if we pay out billions in lawsuits, we're still ahead of the game, which is a heck of a way to have to look yourself in the mirror, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I want to change up the topic again a little bit. And earlier we were talking some about, being January, people start thinking about their health and eating and exercising and stuff like that. And we talked about people going to the gym, and they might go there 30 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever. And they do that for a little bit, maybe a couple days, maybe a week or two, and they just don't sustain with it. And part of it is because they got busy lives, like you said, right? Busy lives, and that's just too much. So let's talk a little bit about some things that people can do that get good the way to get good exercise in, but not spend as much time. You don't have to spend 30 to 60 minutes at the gym every day. So let's talk about that a little bit. And what kind of tips would you have for people there?
Well, this is one I saw on the internet recently, and something I didn't really give much thought to. Some of our largest muscles in our body are our leg muscles. And one of the things that I find is I take patients, some of them in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. The reason they have to go by ambulance is because their legs won't support them anymore. Their legs have gotten weak. Well, you can get a chair, just a regular chair, sit in the chair and then stand up without using your hands. Sit in the chair and stand up and see how many of those you can do in a minute. You might want to put the chair against a wall or something so it doesn't slide out from behind you. But I'm not saying sit down and plop down, but just go down, let your butt touch the chair, and then stand right back up, down and back up as many times as you can in a minute. And I guarantee you're going to find out how long a minute is. And that's a simple exercise that builds really big muscle groups, your glutes, your hamstrings, your quads, everything, even your calves. And you take a couple minutes a day to do it. You do it at home, right there in the kitchen or in the den. And that's a great one. Brian, like you talked about, doing push-ups. Even if you're not strong enough to do a normal plank style push-up, you can just lean against a wall or a kitchen counter and just do what you can and just carve out, before I start fixing supper or when I finish the dishes, I'm going to do 5 minutes of as many push-ups as I can at whatever level I can. Squats, just squatting down, getting down on the ground and getting back up, getting down on the ground and getting back up. That's going to burn a lot of fat, a lot of muscle and stuff like that. One of my favorites, as you know, is jump rope. I'm almost 60 years old and I still really love jumping rope. I can do it at home, in the driveway, or on the back patio. I can even do it downstairs. I have 9-foot ceilings downstairs, so I can actually do it downstairs. So even when the weather's crappy and when the sun is, when it's raining and cold and I don't feel like driving to the gym, resistance bands, you can get resistance bands really, really inexpensive. Those for doing the arm curls or the presses or whatever. There is just a multitude of things you can do. Earlier, somebody said that they did, 90 minutes on the treadmill. If you have a treadmill or an exercise bike, there's a great option. If you don't have one, this is maybe not right now, but give it a month or two and look on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. There'll be a lot of treadmills for sale on Facebook Marketplace when people, give up on their New Year's resolution. You can get a really good deal on an exercise bike or a weightlifting machine or a treadmill, after probably about February. But yeah, there's a lot of things we can do, Brian, that don't require you to go spend hours at the gym. And even if you go to the gym, if you'll just lift heavy weights, only do a couple of sets at 7 to 10 reps. Like when I go to the gym, I go to Planet Fitness. When I'm there, I'm not there more than 25 or 30 minutes. And I get a great workout. But I lift very heavy weight, very few reps. If you can do 20 reps with a weight, it's not heavy enough. You really need to challenge your central nervous system, your muscles, by lifting heavy weight. I'm not saying it's so heavy that you can't lift it, but if you can do it 12, 15 times with ease, you need to add more weight to it, more resistance to whatever you're doing. And that shortens your time at the gym. Of course, when the weather gets nice, or if you have an indoor area you can go, I love sprints. I did some sprints today. Check out my video back on the sprints. It's this euphoric feeling you get when you get through doing it. And I did 4 sprints. The first one was 10 seconds, then 8 seconds, then 7 seconds, and then right at 7 seconds. So I spent 5 minutes doing sprints, and I'm going to sleep like a baby tonight. And I did some push-ups too.
I was going to say there, he hasn't talked about sprints yet. Like sprints have been one of, there's a lot of good things there. And a lot of those things you said don't even really cost you money. Like you don't have to go to the gym and so forth, right? You can do those things without spending money and so forth. I really like things like push-ups, pull-ups. I can't do a pull-up if my life depended on it, but there are people out there that can do pull-ups. Those are really great. I'll tell you, the push-ups are one of the best exercises you can do, and people don't really think about it. Like when you go in, and I'm not talking about just going and doing whatever, like let's say you can do 30 push-ups and you only do 10. That's not what I'm talking about doing. Like I want you to do until failure, basically, right? This is all about maximum effort and whatever you're doing. Sprinting is maximum effort. If you're doing weights, and when you were talking about going to the gym and you are doing weights, you're doing maximum effort. You're taking the heaviest weight you can do and doing a shorter number of sets. But anyway, back to the push-ups. So let's say you go and you do the most that you can possibly do to failure. And everybody is going to be different. Somebody, it might be 3, it might be 5, it might be 10, it might be 20. Somebody, it might be 50 or something, right? And you do as many as you can do. And you do that a couple times. Maybe one day you're going to do, let's say the most you can do is 25. And maybe one day you do 25 push-ups, wait a couple minutes, and you try and do another 25. You might only get to like 20 or something, whatever. Another day you do 25 push-ups, and like an hour later you go and do 25 push-ups again. And then like an hour or two later you do 25 push-ups again. So you're kind of making it random. Your muscles don't get used to doing the same thing all the time. Kind of the whole idea that you get sometimes with sprinting, like you don't always run the same lengths and so forth. But you do that for a couple days with push-ups, and it doesn't necessarily have to be every day. Maybe do it Monday, do it Wednesday, maybe do it Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, whatever it is. But you do that, and you will be amazed at the muscles that are worked from doing that. A lot of your leg muscles, your calf muscles, your back, actually, your arms, your shoulders, your chest, like all of those muscles are worked. And like when you're just doing arm curls or something like that, you're basically working your biceps. When you're doing bench press, you're doing your arm, shoulder, chest, maybe, but you're not doing anything with your legs, right? And just doing push-ups will do all that. Just doing sprinting, you're going to work all of those different muscles. So those are the types of things that can be so great. You can do it really quickly. Like I always talk about Dr. Sean O'Mara, but you go back to Dr. Sean O'Mara with his sprints, right? And sometimes when he's out of town, he talks about how he goes to a hotel, and in the hall, like where the conference rooms are, he will sprint, and he does it so quickly. He's done in like 5-10 minutes that even if they're watching on camera and they're like, what's this guy doing? We need to get security up there. By the time they get security up there, he's gone. He's done. He didn't spend a half hour or an hour in the gym. He did that. And I am telling you, like when I do push-ups and I go until failure, it's insane how out of breath you get from doing that. Like I'll look at because I got my Fitbit here. I'll look at my heart rate and I'm like, wow, my heart rate generally stays pretty low. It's at like 110 right now, and I am breathing heavy after just one set of whatever it was, 25, 30 push-ups, whatever, that's the type of thing that can be so powerful, is that maximum effort. We go back to Bacon Runner here. She does a lot of running. Look at this, 5 minutes of sprints a lot. She does 5 minutes of sprints, and she got probably a better workout than somebody that's spending 30, 45 minutes in the gym. And I know she probably does a lot of other things too. But Okay, so Bill, here's one thing. Bill says sprinting's too hard for him. He does a lot of walking, but you know what? He's doing maximum effort because he's doing walking with a backpack that has like 50 pounds on it or whatever. He's doing maximum effort on that walk. You try walking with an extra 15 pounds on you and see how easy that is, right? It's a lot harder than people think. Those are the types of things you got to do. That maximum effort. That's what really helps. That's what helps to keep you from, as you age, from losing muscle. And that's what helps with, I don't want to say burning, but getting rid of fat. I'll say it that way.
Right. Another thing, Brian, too, you know, you and I and Greg and Rick and probably most people on here, you know, we're in our 50s, probably pretty close to 50. We may have some younger ones in here. I don't know everybody's age, but what I'm finding is when I did some research on this, when I go pick up a patient, let's say the patient's 68 years old, 69 years old, right? And we have to help them from the bed. They get out of the hospital bed and we have to help them over to the stretcher. If we don't just have to literally carry them over there, they put their feet on the ground and they can't remember, because of a central nervous system atrophy, they can't remember how to walk. I know that sounds crazy, but that's really true. They have the strength to walk. Their central nervous system is so underutilized that they can't remember how to put one foot in front of the other. You can actually take and help them move one leg and then move the other leg and get them over to the stretcher. But I talked with I actually have a cousin who's a neurologist, and he said, yeah, I said that's what it is. It's not that their muscles are so weak. That is part of it. But their central nervous system has forgotten how to send the signal. They know they need to move their left leg, but the left leg simply won't move. Doing all the things that we're talking about, Brian, especially when you do heavy weights or you walk fast or you walk with the weighted vest on, you're on a treadmill, all that stuff is actually training your central nervous system as much as it's training your muscles, so that as we age, we don't lose mobility because our central nervous system forgets how the neurons to fire. And that's something that I hadn't really thought about until recently. And it's tough to watch somebody 68, 69 years old who can't remember how to make one leg go in front of the other, but it happens.
Yeah.
Got to stay active.
There's a lot of good comments in here. Cynthia was talking about doing pull-ups. That's her New Year's resolution, to be able to do pull-ups, at least one. Bill's talking about doing some push-ups, and he was also talking about pull-ups. Where's it? Look at this. One evening he did 200 and he did 95 of them with 23-pound backpack on. Pull-ups.
Man.
Pull-ups. Impressive. Arlene was talking about DC learning to live.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about doing the push-ups. Cynthia said yes, he got her into doing push-ups. So a lot of good stuff in here. People are talking about doing. Those are the right types of things to be doing, right? That the maximum effort type of things, and you don't have to spend that money necessarily on the gym and the weights. If you got the money and you want to spend it, then fine, great. But like you said, if you want to do the weights, you want to pick something that the amount of weight that you can basically only do maybe 6, 7, 8 reps at the most, and you're at failure. That's what you want to do. You don't want to be the guy that's in the gym over there and you're pumping out 15, 20 of these bench presses, right? Because that's not doing quite the same thing. That's more almost like more of a cardio thing than really building that muscle and keeping that muscle strength. Because most people watching this video, and Johnny and I, most of us I'm seeing in the chat, we're in the older stages of our life and we want to protect our muscles. We don't want to get like some of the people that you see where they are losing their muscle strength, their muscle tone. And that's what makes you age more than anything else. But yeah, there's a lot of good things in here about that.
Brian, I've got one thing that I do that's kind of killer to me. I've got 2 of these 25-pound weight plates that I go for on my barbell. And I'll put one in each hand. That's only 50 pounds, 25 on each. And then I live in a cul-de-sac, and I walk to the bottom of the cul-de-sac and back holding those weights. It's called a farmer's carry. Oh my gosh. I don't have a weighted vest, but carrying those 25-pound plates, one in each hand, is brutal. I don't do it as often as I should, but there again, I already have the weights. I don't have to go to a gym, and that is one heck of a workout. Farmer's Carry, look it up.
Yeah, these are all great. All these things that we're talking about, man. Like I'm telling you, people do these. Some people just would probably be listening to us talking. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, I don't know what these guys are talking about. That's nothing." Like I go to the gym, I do this. Well, I know people that go to the gym and work out, and then you have them do certain other things that like we've talked about, and they're like, "Oh my god, how do people do this? This is ridiculous. This is hard to do." Bacon Runner can do 12 non-modified push-ups at a time as of today. Just started doing them again. That's great. And here's the thing, like I talk about this a lot, and Johnny, I know you've talked about this before too. Don't compare yourself to what somebody else is doing. Don't compare yourself to how many Johnny can do or Cynthia can do or whatever. Compare yourself to yourself. And if you can do 12 non-modified push-ups today, maybe a week from now you can do 15 or 17, whatever it is. That's what you want to do, is compare yourself to yourself, constantly work to get better and get healthier.
What does semi-retired Bob say? 1% better?
Yeah, there you go. 1% every day.
Yeah.
Arlene, I like this comment. I'm listening to my body now. I used to push it too much and would hurt myself. I do that sometimes too.
Hey, that's a great point, Brian, right there. Let me hold up right there. As you age, once you get beyond 45, 50, 55 years old, rest and recovery is much more important. You can actually go backwards in health if you don't give your body time to rest. That's why when you're 20 years old, you can go to the gym and work out Monday through Sunday. You get our age, you get these good workouts. They should last no more than 20, 30 minutes at the most, if you're doing really strenuous stuff. And then give yourself a day or two to rest between workouts, because it can be bad for your central nervous system, your brain and your spinal cord and your muscles, and for your overall health to overtrain. You can actually increase your cortisol, which prevents fat loss, which causes visceral fat. So because we're talking to, I feel like, there's an older crowd here, which I think most people would agree, don't think you got to work out hard every day. It's counterproductive. Work out hard on Monday and then come back on Wednesday or Thursday and do it 2 or 3 times a week, and give your body plenty of rest and the proper nutrition, which is the foundation of everything we're talking about here. I would hate to think I was trying to do all the things I do physically if I didn't have a meat-based diet. It would be tough eating potato chips and soda to do the things that I'm trying to do.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a good point too about the recovery time in between. As you've been doing it for a while and you get yourself in better shape, you're probably going to be able to do more. So let's just take push-ups, for instance. I was talking about push-ups. Okay, when you're first getting started, maybe you can do 5 push-ups, and you do 5 push-ups, and then maybe you do a second set of 5 push-ups, and you don't do push-ups again for 2 days or 3 days, and then you do them again. Well, a week or 2 from now, you might be able to do 10 push-ups, and you might be able to do it 3 or 4 days in the week instead of 2 days of the week that you did the first week, right? So you may get improved, but that's the key. Don't overdo it, because that can cause the exact problems that Johnny just talked about. So we're talking about maximum effort, going into failure, but not necessarily overdoing it. Here's something interesting too. I saw someone that I know had posted a comment about, they went to the gym and they were in there and they did like some heavy weights. I can't remember exactly what exercise it was, but they did, I don't know, it was like 6 or 7 reps, and then they rested for like 5 minutes, and then they went and they did another set. And there was this other guy in there, he was doing less weight, and he did probably 8-10 reps, whatever, and then like a minute later he did 8 to 10 reps, and he actually made the comment to this other guy, like, are you sure you're okay over there? Like, you have to take like 5 minutes in between. So he's like, hey, no, I'm good. So then he went and took off his shirt to show the guy that he was twice as buff as that guy was. The point being, like, give your body the amount of rest that you need. And that's why sometimes, like I said, like with the push-ups, like there have been times I'll do 25, 30 push-ups, whatever it is. And then 5, 10 minutes later, I'll do more. But a lot of times I won't. I'll do however many I can do at a time. And then a couple hours later, I'll do more. Don't worry about this whole thing. Like, I got to do all of it at one time, especially if you're a busy person. You can't already fit in going to the gym. Like, I did this the other day with work. I took a quick break from work, went to the bathroom, and I think I did like 35 push-ups or something like that. And then a couple hours later, I took another bathroom break and I did 30 push-ups, whatever it was, right? So I just did 55 push-ups in 2 different sets, and they were within a couple of hours of each other. They weren't at the same time, but that's what worked with where I was working. It took me like 30 seconds to a minute to do that. And then get back to work. I thought he said pull-ups. He was talking about push-ups, Bill, when I was talking about the pull-up thing earlier. Okay. Push-ups. That
would have been a world record. I think it was pull-ups.
Yeah. That's still great. 200 push-ups. That's great. I just pictured that he was crazy freak muscle doing all those pull-ups, but okay. Let's see. Cynthia invested in a rucking vest, sandbags, and such. She hasn't used it enough, though. I don't really do a lot of walking. If I did, though, that would probably be a good thing, is to do the rucking, right? Something, whether even if it's a backpack or something. I think that'd be a good way to do it.
And Brian, let's talk about walking for a second. Everybody says walking is a great exercise, and it is. It's movement, but they've done multiple studies, and I don't have time to dig them up right now, but the speed of your walking. So instead of going out walking slowly for an hour, walk at a really fast pace, not running, but a really fast walk for 15 minutes. That is more advantageous to your health, to your cardiovascular, to your muscles, to everything, and to your longevity, believe it or not, than an hour of walking at a leisurely pace. Walking at a leisurely pace is better than sitting at a leisurely pace. But if you can walk up a hill or walk at a fast pace for just 15 minutes, and if you can't do 15 minutes, start out doing 5 minutes and try to build up to walking at a really good pace. And you don't have to run. It's much easier on your joints, your ankles. I love doing the sprinting, but that fast walking might be where people need to start. I say walking slow is better than nothing, but if you can pick up the pace if you're walking for 5, 6, 8, 10 minutes, you pretty much have done your workout, and then you can build from there. Again, costs nothing, costs zero.
Yeah. I like this comment here. It's important to find a way that we enjoy. That's a very good comment. That's very important. Like, why do people stop exercising? Because they don't like doing it, right? So find something that you really enjoy. And I know you really enjoy sprinting. That's something that you do. You really enjoy jumping rope. That's something that you do. For some reason, I really enjoy doing these push-ups. And so that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm doing a lot of these push-ups. That's a good thing. Find something that you really enjoy doing. And when you really enjoy it, it's going to be easier for you to give that maximum effort, which is going to give you the payoff in the end. So I like that. There's a lot of good comments in here. Bill was talking about dumbbells are expensive. Get a load of gravel for $30 and fill old plastic coffee jugs. That's a good thing. 30 pounds in a big Maxwell House container. There you go. I don't remember what you said. Bill says that only works if you can breathe.
Maybe
What was
walking
it?
or sprinting or whatever. Maybe walking
Oh,
fast.
maybe, yeah. But you know what?
And I guess you
Yeah, I
have
mean,
to
that's
work
the
with
thing.
whatever you
Like,
have, you know.
that goes back to the whole thought of comparing yourself to yourself, right? What might be a very fast walk to someone else might not be for you, and that's where you're at, and work on getting better at it. And like you said, the uphill thing, that's a great option. You're not going to be very fast going uphill, but that is a great option because it's going to really work you hard better than just walking straight line. Oh, talking about the hill. Here we go. Cynthia says, I have a monster hill down the road. I push myself when going up. It gets my heart rate up. By the way, Iowa isn't all flat. Huh. Didn't know that. But you know, it's funny. As a very tall person, and probably some of it has been being an overweight person, at least more so in the past. I'm still probably considered a bit overweight, but the going up the hill isn't the bad thing. The going down the hill is the bad thing. Like, I'll walk with my wife and we'll be doing a trail or something. You're going uphill and then you go downhill, and she starts like motoring it going downhill. And I'm over there like trying not to fall, like trying not to lose my balance because I feel like I'm going too fast. I'm going to fall over. And she's only 5'2". I'm 6'4". And she's like, yeah, this is not a problem at all. I'm like, maybe it's like a height thing, but when I'm going downhill, it is much harder than going uphill. And she's like, gosh, going uphill is the hard thing. Going downhill is so easy. So maybe it's a height thing. I don't know. But that's the thing I always have. Like, going downhill is so much harder for me because I'm trying to keep myself from just barreling it and falling down the hill. Oh, Rick asked, how about cycling? Cycling
Excellent.
is great.
Excellent.
I know Rick does a lot of cycling to the different places he's going, right? I don't actually have a bike. I have an exercise bike that I can use. So what I tend to do is I like to do these periods where I pedal as hard as I can, 30 seconds, a minute, whatever. I'll do that actually because the exercise bike is in my garage and I'll have my grill set up outside my garage. I'll do that while I'm cooking a steak. I'll pedal really hard for a minute or two, get off the bike, go over to the grill, flip the steak over or whatever, get back onto the bike, and then do some more pedaling. And again, with cycling, going uphill is insane. Like, look what's that is doing to your muscles. Just, you feel it in your muscles. Like, I haven't rode a bike, like a real bike, in a long time, and I can still remember going uphill on that bike. Like, you feel it in your legs. You're like, oh my gosh, that's a great activity. It really is. So Jelly Roll does 2 hills versus 1. You say you heard this in Joe Rogan interview. Is that riding bike?
I think
Or
it's
is he
running.
running up the bike or running up the hill? Running up the bike.
He's lost. Jelly Roll's lost. I think he's lost 200 pounds. Now, I don't know that he's doing the carnivore diet. I don't know what his diet looks like, but he's turned his life around with a lot of exercise and intention. You know, a lot of what we talk about starts with intention. Eating correctly starts with intention. Exercising starts with intention. If he's been with Joe Rogan, I'm sure Joe told him about the carnivore diet because Joe Rogan's kind of how I heard about all this stuff. So hopefully he's cutting the carbs out and all that stuff. But he's an impressive before and after. Even he's not even where he wants to be yet, but his before and after pictures now are pretty impressive. And I know he works really hard.
Yeah. Here's another great one. She says, I don't do it, but rowing machines are great, and so is cross-country skiing. Dr. Sean Baker does the rowing machines, right? You ever see him in some of his videos doing that?
Oh, yeah.
That is another great one. And a lot of these things that we're talking about, part of what makes them so great is they're not just working one muscle group. They're working multiple muscle groups. So you're working multiple muscle groups at the same time, which allows you to do less of a workout,
Time.
right?
Yeah.
Less time spending doing your workout, because there's people that go in the gym and they're like, I'm going to do leg day and then I'm going to do arms day, or I'm going to put all that together, but I'm going to do like 30 different exercises. And you do some of these things like the rowing machine and so forth, you're working out several different muscles. That reminds me, something I was thinking with way back here, when the first thing I think you were talking about was the getting up and out of the chair without using your hands.
Mm-hmm.
One thing you didn't mention that I was wondering, and I was going to ask, and then I kind of forgot because we got into comments. I would think that probably is working your abs a lot too. Is that true?
Oh, yeah.
You think?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more than just your legs. It's your glutes, your abs, your obliques. I mean, as long as you don't use your hands, if you just stand up, you'd be surprised that even, I think it works your calf. If you stand up and they can go up on your toes and work those calf muscles. Little known fact, we actually have a second heart within the body. Your calf muscles act as a second heart. When you flex your calves, contract your calf muscles, it helps push blood back towards the heart, back towards the center part of your body. So they act as, for lack of a better term, almost like a second heart. They do really help with circulating the blood back out of the lower part of your body, help overcome the effects of gravity. So the more you can do, if you can just do calf raises or whatever, that helps too. But yeah, Brian, I think to your point, just doing the sitting and standing thing from a chair without using your hands is going to work more than just your legs. It's going to have to be, I can just rocking, thinking about doing it in my head. I would use your abs, and try to do it for a minute. Everybody just do it. Obviously not now, but maybe tomorrow. Get your timer on your phone, set it for a minute or whatever, and see how many you can do, and see how hard that is. It's crazy hard. And then you can build from there. I mean, if you only do 5 or 6, then try to do 7 or 8 in a couple of days.
It's funny because I've been hearing you talk about it, and I'm like, I was just thinking here, like while you're talking, I'm like, I think after we're done with this, I'm going to try and do some of these and see how well I can do at this. I bet I'm not going to be very good at it. Oh, well, you know what? We are basically almost at an hour and a half here, a couple minutes short of an hour and a half. So this was our first episode here in 2026. I think 2026 is going to be a great year for everybody. We kind of went into this one saying there's a few different things out there we can talk about. We didn't really pick a particular topic. Probably going into the next episode, we'll pick a topic again, and have more of a topic that we go through that week. But Johnny, anything that you kind of want to say here to finish us off before we kind of close it up and go through our outro thing?
Yeah. I don't know what it is, Brian. And I said this in my video earlier today. If you guys get a chance to watch it, please watch it, like, subscribe, all that stuff. But I'm just super excited for 2026. I can't really put my finger on why. I know you and I, we're going to have a great year on the podcast. We're going to enjoy everybody coming on and being a part of the show. I'm just super pumped for this year. Part of it's the new food pyramid. Part of it, I believe that this could be the year, 2026 could be the year that we begin to really see mass adoption of low carb lifestyle. I mean, it's mass adopted in certain places and in certain communities, but I think it's going to really, really kind of explode this year. Maybe not carnivore specifically, but just hopefully people being more concerned about what they eat and looking at that low carb lifestyle. I think 2026 is going to be a great year, and I'm so excited to be here.
All right. So I'll kind of get us going through our outro thing. Next Wednesday will be our next episode. We always do Wednesdays. So Wednesday, 8:00 p.m. Eastern time, 7:00 Central time. We'll have a topic for you at some point here that we'll pick out. So we'll see you then. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
See you next week.